Jam. Toon Jam. Hello and welcome to another episode of Toon Jam. I am Matt.
And I'm J-Man.
And we are still in the throes of Corona. Sorry if that's, if anyone's had a rough time with it. But we are on Skype. So, the continued quality dip if is still there. Let's hope the content can make up for it. This week we are still on our comparison series and we are comparing He-Man, Masters of the Universe, to the newest iteration to date, Masters of the Universe versus the Snakemen. Also known as He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 2002 series. So there was also a previous reboot in the 90s, 1990, The New Adventures of He-Man, which was set on a futuristic planet of Primus.
Ooh.
Instead. However, this is not that version. We have gone for the newer version, which takes it back to basics, back to Castle Grayskull and Eternia.
Yeah.
This is an American-Canadian animated television series developed for television by Michael Halperin, who created the original series. It was animated by Might Young Productions. It serves as an update of the 1980s Filmation series, produced to coincide with Mattel's revival of the Masters of the Universe franchise 11 years after its previous attempt. The series ran on Cartoon Network's Toonami programming block between August 16th, 2002 and January 10th, 2004. It ran for 2 seasons with 39 episodes. So we are covering an episode from season 2 called The Power of Grayskull, which was sort of an origin story for the actual power of Grayskull. Who Grayskull was sort of an ancestor of He-Man.
Mm.
And he is basically He-Man.
Yeah, essentially.
When Prince Adam turns into He-Man, he uses the power of Grayskull himself and becomes almost like a smaller version of Grayskull. Was ridiculously big.
Yeah, he was.
But it made a lot more sense. Obviously, I was questioning last week.
Yeah, we were wondering last week, what's the deal with Grayskull?
Why is he living in the Skull Castle? Blah 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 blah. So it answered a lot of questions. So there's plenty to talk about in this reboot series.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the newer one?
No, I never saw any of this.
I never saw it. And I think it was probably visually too true to the original.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It came out. It felt like old-fashioned, and I feel like when it came out, I wouldn't have been bothered about it.
Yeah.
And you kind of, I don't know. It's one of them things where it was almost a reboot that was true to its origins, but instead, where we've got the recent reboots we've watched, which have been drastically different.
Yeah.
This tried to just update it a little bit, whilst keeping true to it.
Which I guess keeps the sort of main core of fans happy, I suppose.
Yeah, but is it? This is I suppose this is the crunch time. Is it what? Does it make sense to do that?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the. It was fairly well animated.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Action scenes were all right. You've got some cool magic, sword fighting.
Yeah.
Everything you really want from it.
That's it.
Characters. I mean, with this episode, we didn't see much of the same characters. So
no,
we saw a bit of Prince Adam and He-Man. They seemed quite similar. That it was quite a lot like the older one.
Yeah, haircut
Maybe
wasn't quite as lame, but it was still.
updated a little bit,
Yeah,
but he seemed less ridiculous.
yeah, bit more confident in himself. So
Yeah, and then you've got sort of Skeletor,
Mm.
who was again similar but less ridiculous, seemingly.
Mm. And then in this one as well, we saw there was like another villain who seemed way worse than
Yeah,
Skeletor.
so he is like Skeletor was like a henchman himself
Yeah,
of this other guy, some big bad.
so that was interesting. I was like, oh, maybe they realized that like Skeletor's voice makes him not seem villainous enough.
Yeah, well,
And it's
yeah,
like,
it doesn't seem. He doesn't seem like the main baddie, does he? He
no.
looks like the main baddie, but he doesn't act like the main baddie.
So it's like, oh, maybe they've changed that up. That's quite
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
It looks like a way they were adding stuff, ridiculous things as well. So, Orco, was it?
Yeah.
He was in this one in the flashback.
Mm. But
And,
he's
quite a ridiculous bit.
yeah. He seemed probably just as, if not more annoying, I thought, in this than
Yeah, because his eyebrows were more aggravating.
yeah, they really
His
were.
massive hairy eyebrows coming out of his costume, which was just like, what is going on?
Yeah. Like I don't know where they were, like in space or time, because like his eyes are like sunken back into the cloak, but his eyebrows were like levitating.
Yeah, they must like
just
fully come out forwards,
yeah,
just slightly at an angle.
projected eyebrows.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too far.
So the Snakemen,
Mm.
I'm assuming that's the big bad guy, is the leader of the Snakemen.
Right.
I mean, I might be wrong, but he looks a bit like a snake.
Yeah, he's got like a weird lizard-like face with like a strange. It's like a fan-like projection outside of his eyes.
Yeah. He looked cool enough.
Yeah, and he didn't sound like, you know, a prepubescent boy either. So had that.
So he sounded like a proper villain.
Yeah.
But then, spoiler alert, Skeletor proper jeffs him over in the end,
Yeah,
which is actually quite hilarious. So he's basically, from what I can gather from only watching this episode, he brought Skeletor back to life at some point.
Mm.
And so he's basically got Skeletor under his thumb.
Yeah.
And Skeletor owes him one, so he says, come to my castle now, revive me, whatever.
Mm.
So Skeletor goes there. This is the very end of the episode. He-Man pops out like, you know, if this castle is destroyed, the villain will be gone for good.
Mm.
And then Skeletor's like, that would be a shame. And then destroys the castle with like one hit of his staff.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then just goes off laughing.
Just yeah. So it raises a lot of questions, like why didn't you do that like in the first place?
Yeah.
I think the best part about that is like He-Man's reaction of just like, it's as if he didn't want the thing to be there in the first place. And then somebody else pops up like, this is very strange. It's as if he didn't want it to be there in the first place.
Interesting.
Just in case you didn't get it by the fact that Skeletor blew the place down, they have like 8 characters turn up and explain it.
How interesting it was. It's do you know what? When I was watching this,
Yeah.
it almost made me feel bad about giving it a thumbs down last week. And I don't mean that because this one was so bad, but it was like the one thing I felt was missing from it was the humour.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And how like the silliness was what part of its charm.
Yeah, I see.
And this is sort of a more they've got some of it, but it's more serious take, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's way more serious. I almost I had like a pre-giggle because at the start of this episode, Grayskull has his sword knocked down into a cavern that looks almost identical to the one from last week, and I was like, oh yes, here we go. He's gonna have to jet ski down there and get stuck in a spider's web. So I was like, oh yeah, this is about to get good. Never happened.
No, yeah, and it kind of made me think maybe last week I should have shaky middled it. Because having sat on it for a bit, it feels like a fond memory.
Yeah. Surprise comedy that you just weren't expecting.
Yeah, and I don't know if can we retroactively change our ratings?
Well, there's no rules.
Then I'm going up, shaky middle.
Oh snap! It's the first one.
The first
one that's ever been changed.
Just sticking with me. You watch next week. I'll probably go thumbs up.
Yeah, this is
the
it.
Further away from me I get. But yeah, it has like a lot of nods, doesn't it, to the original stuff?
Yeah.
So like the intro is like him like, "Hi, I'm Prince Adam," like in the original one. But then it gets cut in with like modern intro.
Yeah.
It literally gets interrupted.
Yeah, like he's doing a videotape at home.
Yeah.
A battle starts and it's like, whoops.
And then at the end he gives like the classic.
Yeah, the top tip.
Which is the ridiculous top tip of like, if possible, a fight should always be resolved using words. And it's like, you know what? That's a really good bit of advice, but not coming from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the most steroid-ridden man of children's TV history. Like what?
Complete with giant sword.
Yeah. And aggressive feline companion.
Yeah.
Like, what are you on about?
How many times have you solved anything using words?
And then the other thing is, that wasn't even part of the episode. Like, that was just like an irrelevant factoid. You know, like usually it's like, oh, this was kind of the moral of the episode. Like, so as you can see, kids, like, we've been cleaning up the planet and you need to recycle or whatever. Whereas this was just like, sort stuff out with words instead of action. And it's like, what? You just spent the whole episode like trying to fight some guy.
Yeah. And there was this whole like moral about inner power and you know, the strength being in you all along, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And then this is what they come out with at the end, something that does not at all.
No. It was actually really it was really bizarre, his whole sort of like self-discovery mission where essentially like Orco tells him he's got to pass through like every possible death-defying like landscape of all time.
Really, this episode could have been a series.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah.
Grayskull basically making his way to the end, but if they had done that, the payoff would have been horrendous.
It would have got taken off the air.
I mean, you could tell he was like well annoyed.
Yeah. When
Orco's like, "The power within you all along."
It's like, what?
I'm surprised he didn't kill him there and then.
Yeah, he should have done. I'd have definitely like altered my my perception of this show if he'd have just offed Orca right there and then.
Yeah, that would have been like straight in, thumbs up, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what happened.
Even if that was like the only bit in the episode, just started and it was like, "The power within you all along." Sting. The end.
Just slices that stupid cloak up into thousands.
But yeah, that was
that unfortunately didn't happen. So
yeah, that's just a dream. I'm glad that he's not a main character in it though.
Yeah,
like it's fine as a little nod, I suppose. They definitely should have done some, like giving him some sort of magic, because it didn't make sense as well when it came to the end and he had some sort of weird energy.
Yeah,
he's fighting the Snakemen. And they're all firing magic at him. And then he just comes back with his own magic that seemingly hasn't come from anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. like it was in him the whole time or whatever. But like clearly it wasn't, because he lost that battle before. So what?
But I liked that it cleared up nearly all of my questions from last week.
Yeah, accidentally we stumbled upon
a very good. It's kind of like an origin without it being.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's better to have that later on in a series because you're more interested by them.
Yeah. It also had that like Grayskull's weird bird lady wife in it as well, which was like interesting. Like,
was it the Enchantress or something?
Yeah, it's like she just was that. I'm assuming that was her later, like in Adam's thing as well, except she's all veiny for some reason.
Yeah,
like,
cause I think because she's like old,
1 billion years old.
Yeah,
so, like her race they just get like translucent skin as they age. Just become really visceral.
And she's she's the mother of the one that Prince Adam was carrying off in the last episode we watched, the older one.
Oh right, yeah.
That was revealed in an episode. So spoiler alert if you you just started the original He-Man.
Gutted. Yeah.
Yeah.
You picked a time to do it.
Oh boy. But yeah, a lot happened in this episode when you think back. They really filled the 20 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I actually felt like it was a bit long because it was like, oh man, I've seen so much.
Yeah, it was the reverse. It was there was just usually something like that would whiz by, but it just felt like an epic journey.
It was really,
He-Man of the Rings.
It was, yeah. They did a good job of like trying to make the journey seem like varied, even though it was just like they could have just called everything the whatever of death. But they managed to like mix it up enough so it was like the labyrinth of thorns, even though we'd just gone through like a hedge maze before. That was clearly a labyrinth. But they like called that something different, so it didn't sound like they were just doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. And I love that his the way he arrived at wisdom as well was essentially he was in the labyrinth of thorns. There's 3 passageways and one of them's got footsteps coming out of it instead of going in. And it took him like 2 seconds to be like, footsteps going out. I'll go this way, and then that was it.
Yeah, no question about whether or not he's going to take a while to figure that out.
No.
He still doesn't mess about. But he didn't have. He had a job to do.
Yeah.
He needed to get it done quick. Orco's messing him around. He was desperate to protect his castle. It's lucky he got back when he did, really.
It is really, because like think how many more preparations he could have made if he'd have actually been there the whole time, instead of like going on the through the entire Earth to to get to Orco. So
that's just typical Orco, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
What a joke.
Absolutely. What I didn't understand as well was at the end is like after the huge battle, he suffers a mortal wound, as explained by somebody, which is like I'm pretty sure he didn't get hit. Was it because the evil guy passed through him or something like that?
Yeah, it was where he killed. So he didn't kill him, but he banished the spirit or something of the main snake man. I mean, this is assuming he is a snake man. But he went through him as a ghost into the bottomless pit or whatever.
Yeah.
Killing him.
And that killed him in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which would have been a lot more effective as a,
Yeah. But then I suppose both of them echoed on to become the power of He-Man and Skeletor.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a generational thing.
This is true. This is a very historical episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool that the bad guy, just the evil Snake Man guy, essentially had Skeletor, like, because he just gave him headaches. Like, there was quite
Like in
a
his
scene
sleep or something. Like
yeah, a lengthy scene where Skeletor was just shaking, holding his head for ages, like, and they just kept using the same back and forth animation, so it just looked like a hilarious GIF for a while. Skeletor holding his head with his arm wobbling. Like, oh no!
It's surprising that isn't a GIF. Maybe we need to start that.
Yeah.
Skeletor shaking Skeletor GIF. me visiting Orco.
Oh man, yeah, this is true.
Right, okay, well, on that note, shall we head over to some rate and reviews?
Yeah.
Great Orco, you must help me. I need the power of your magic. I have a life-threatening illness. It is terminal, and I only have a year to live. Please, Orco, you're my only hope. I need a cure.
It's easy. Follow my 5-step program.
5 steps? Oh, okay. What must I do?
First, the Valley of the Dragons.
Oh God! Oh, this is a horrible thing to do. Well, it's worth it. I hope. Save me.
And then, the Stone Labyrinth.
Oh, this is not so bad. I go left and it's a stone. Okay, maybe if I go right, it's another. How do I get out?
Now, the Thorny Maze.
Oh God, it's the same again. But it's a thorn. It's cut me. I'll go right. They're so sharp. Help me.
Now, the thirst-quenching Dry Desert.
I'm so thirsty and I have prickles all over my body from the last maze and burn wounds from the dragons. Please help me. I'm so thirsty, please.
And now, the Mountain of No End.
Oh God, I need the cure, but I can barely lift myself on my prickled, dry, stone-ridden, burnt body. But the cure, it must be in this cave.
Congratulations! You made it here, to the end.
Oh God, you're here. What is going on? Where is the cure?
The cure was inside you all along.
Oh God, I'm still here. I'm dying and I've wasted my final year. It brings us to our rate and review. I don't know why I'm doing that weird voice. Rate and review section. If you haven't listened before, then you won't know how we do it here. We have a 3-point system. It goes as follows. Thumbs up, I have the power. Thumbs down, Orco. Shaky middle, the Snakemen in general. Who are they? So, good, bad, I'm not really sure. He-Man versus the Snakemen, or Masters of the Universe versus the Snakemen. Your thoughts?
Yeah, still, I mean, the premise is still very, very fantasy. They seem to have got rid of the sci-fi aspect to this time. Like, there wasn't no jet skis in this, which was a bit disappointing. And so, I mean, it kind of sticks to one thing, which I guess is good because thematically it's a bit more sound, but slightly less interesting for me. So up and down. The villain actually seemed pretty scary. It was like, oh man, this guy's pretty powerful. So that made a difference to Skeletor in the last one, whereas he was just playing hide and seek behind a structure that was badly made. So that was good. He-Man and his ancestor both look like ridiculous. Like they're huge, so you can't question that they're dead hard. But I mean, like, that was never questioned in the first place. So I don't know whether the character design is much improved, other than the haircut slightly better. But I mean, the story was pretty interesting. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. That's how it happened. It makes a lot of stuff. Maybe we were just ignorant, but it cleared a lot of stuff up for me. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that was good. But the comedy was lacking, like
Yeah,
because
big time.
yeah, it just wasn't as I don't think as I was watching it, especially because the Orco bit was made it feel even longer. Like I kind of wanted it to end. That's like
Yeah.
this is just yeah. I think because it hasn't got all those other elements to it, it lands itself firmly in like generic fantasy now.
Yeah.
Whereas at least He-Man had the appeal of like, why is there flying machines in it as well? And also like, why is it so stupid? So like now, by bringing it into sort of serious territory, it's just like, oh, it's just kind of an average fantasy now. So I think for me, I don't know if I don't think I would watch any more of it by choice. It just doesn't have the appeal. I'm sure there's other shows out there that do the same thing in a better way. So I think for me, it's probably still going to be a thumbs down.
A thumbs down. Okay, well, that's your opinion. I agree with what you say. Actually, I think it's definitely it feels super generic.
Mm.
It's lacking a lot of, especially the charm of the original. And not just that, but so there's something that at least the original stood out, even though it had nothing going. You know, everyone looked stupid.
Yeah.
No one matched up, but it's kind of what made it intriguing.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have that. Everything fits, and it's weird. It just shows you that you don't really know what you want, because all the stuff I complained about last week, this kind of did, but it actually just didn't land.
Yeah.
It was just boring. It was a good enough episode, and it was interesting, as far as like the origins of Grayskull and that.
Mm.
And it had some elements that were entertaining, but overall, I would say it was quite boring.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand why. And I think a lot of it is because it felt dated in a strange way, not like
Yeah.
it looked dated, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like you were playing on an old-fashioned theme that just didn't interest me.
No.
And I think that would have been the case, I imagine, for kids at the time, which is why I suppose it didn't really stay around for long. And I think that this is a prime example of, as much as people complain about things like Thundercats Raw, this shows you why they do that.
Yeah.
Because this is like everything pretty much I imagine a fan would want from a reboot. As they've got older, the show has got older, sort of thing. But it's not, you can make that, but it's still made for kids. It's still a kids show.
Yeah.
And no matter, like, if you're 20 odd and watching it, it's not likely you're going to go out and buy all the toys.
No.
You might go and buy a couple of action figures for a collection or something. But if you're not going to go and buy like swords and kids' armor and
Yeah.
stuff like that, so it just makes more sense to make these shows for kids.
Yeah.
Kids need something, don't they? You can't just take everything away from them because you had it when you were younger.
Exactly.
It's time for a new generation, and if they want to play with that idea, then let them. That's the way it lives on.
Yeah.
And what's weird, and I said it before, I think, is that He-Man would lend itself so well to a ridiculous reboot.
Oh yeah.
Better than Thundercats would.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Because it was ridiculous anyway. And I'm sure people would moan still.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. I mean, like I said, Netflix are doing a new He-Man, as we discussed. So I would be very interested to see that. Having watched these, But yeah, to go back to it, sorry, I didn't actually give a rating. I would give this a shaky middle.
Oh, so just as good as the original.
Yeah, because I feel like there's the effort there, and all in all, it wasn't terrible.
No.
It was interesting enough, and it gave you sort of a good background on it, and the story was good enough. It was a good enough background. It was like, oh yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did feel a bit slow.
Yeah, I think the thing is,
bog standard middle ground, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like if this wasn't He-Man, if it was just another show, I know I'd choose not to watch it in the first place because it's just not up my street. Like Well,
I think that's the trouble. It's not up anyone's anymore.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah,
because like you say, I think if they'd had more sci-fi elements to it,
it would have at least had something different. But
yeah,
this is it. It's obviously everyone's kind of it falls into that camp of it was so influential at the time almost that like everyone's already done their spin on it.
And he's the sort of the barbarian trope, the barbarian king.
Yeah,
that is like very much, I think, a dead concept. Like I've never had an interest in watching barbarian kings.
No,
like that is firmly in the 80s. I doubt it will ever really come back for a long time, at least.
No.
They tried remaking Conan, it didn't work. So I don't know.
It's not something that appeals to people anymore, is it?
No, I don't think it is. It's very much that sort of grungy, high fantasy mixed with a bit of, hair metal.
Yeah.
It's just like popular stuff of the time. But yeah, it just doesn't fit anymore. So I think the concept itself needs to be revamped. Or you do it in a ridiculous tone, because as well, like I can kind of see, is that the only real like cartoon fantasy things going on at the moment at least in kids TV. Well, it was Adventure Time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what kids want from their fantasy right now, I suppose.
Yeah, and it wasn't in no shape or form like generic fantasy, was it? It was just It was very, very oddball fantasy.
Yeah.
Like kind of thrown in.
So it just makes sense to do shows like that now. And I do think you can just learn a lot from watching these and just being like, yeah, fair enough. You know what? Even if you watched, say, Thundercats Roar and didn't like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than having something like this, which no one really liked.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be people that liked it, but no one remembers it now.
I think, I guess we're in a weird time as well now because there is that thing of like Adult Swim where like adult cartoons are becoming increasingly more popular.
Yeah.
That people think like that the people like more people think, well, that's an option now. Like we can make it for adults. But then, like you say, you are. With properties like this, it's like you're taking it away from the kids to do that. Whereas original titles, it's a bit different. So you can do an adult version of whatever. But if you want to pass it down from generation to generation, you've got to appeal to that younger audience each time, haven't you? Really?
Exactly. Yeah, and there's plenty out there for you to watch. You need to there's a lot of. I find it's like property hoarding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you watch something so it's yours forever.
That's it.
And
it's just it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And I suppose it was sort of the first generation with these cartoons, especially, is the first generation to have had a lot of cartoons, and having to deal with it when they're older now.
Yeah.
Because before, I suppose there's a lot of cartoons in before that we've covered them, but they're all like pretty straightforward kids cartoons that sort of appeal to everyone. Things like Mickey Mouse, Looney Tunes. You don't have to change them because they already appeal to so many people. Whereas these kind of shows need changing because they're so of the time. Yeah.
And the thing is as well, is like even if they did do an Adult Swim version, it would be a comedy anyway, because all Adult Swim stuff is comedy.
Yeah.
So it's like the element that they're all missing is humor to some degree. Maybe it's not your type of humor, but like they're gonna have to add humor to it. Like whether it's gonna like land on Cartoon Network or land on Adult Swim, like that's gonna have to be. Do you know what I mean? That's the element that all the new cartoons have. Like
yeah, and that's the thing. You know, something like, say they bring something back like Samurai Jack. They did a final season of that, and it's. I mean, we've not watched it, but supposed to be a bit more brutal, isn't it? And
yeah.
But you know that you're just finishing it off for the people that watched it when they were younger.
Yeah.
And kind of making it just a bit more of what it already was. Something like this is very different, and you can't count that, I don't think.
No.
But there you go. So, learning the lessons from the comparisons.
Yeah.
Thanks again for listening. I hope this has interested you as much as it has us. If you liked what you heard, please feel free to rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcast. It really helps us out. And if you've got any recommendations or you just want to talk to us, you can get in touch with us on the 3 Skeletor's Laughs of the Internet. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, @ToonJamPod. Otherwise, until next time, stay jammy.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. If you want to help the show keep going, you can be extra jammy by heading over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/toonjampod. Here you can get a shout out on the show or unlock bonus episodes. Ratings and reviews anywhere you listen to the podcast also really help us out. So thank you and stay jammy.